Hi, and welcome back to Bible Scribe. It's good to see you guys, be with you again. Thank you for joining me. Tonight I'm doing a video called What Are Demons and Are They Even Real? Now this is actually a response to a request from one of my viewers, and so they asked if I could do a video on demons. This will probably be one of quite a few I could do on this topic or related subjects. And to be honest, the volume of information here is really overwhelming. Not I'm just saying the amount of information you have to go through to find all the information and put it together is enormous. But what I hope to do is I'm going to show you a slide presentation I put together with the information, and we will get through the majority of what demons are they real, the basics. And so I've switched up my format a little bit, but you'll see my slides, you'll understand why in a second. So let's start going through that. The question, what are demons and are they even real? So here is the start of the presentation. What are demons? Are they even real? So we're going to talk about that. Are demons real? So a lot of people want to disregard evidence of history, and the evidence we have of history is usually written down, and I don't understand why many people in the modern age want to dismiss written history, because that is what history is. That's how we get history, written on papyrus, codices, books, leaflets, hewn into rocks, engraved, cuneiform. So all these methods are ways we get our history, and that's where most of this information will come from today. So we can't dismiss that history, that evidence, and it is evidence in every sense of the word. So we have writings that are more than 4,000 years old and older of demons and similar spirits, and they're recorded as harassing humankind. There is evidence and testimony throughout history of human interactions with spirits and demons. The Bible gives accounts of demon possessions in the first century and prior. You probably are familiar with those accounts: the demon-possessed man in the graveyard and the swine and all that stuff. Some references listed there for you. The book of Jubilees also gives accounts of demons harassing the sons of Noah. It's probably a story you haven't heard, but we're going to touch on that in this video. Josephus also, in the first century, he was a Roman historian. He was Jewish, but wrote history for the Romans, and he gives an account of some demonic possessions that occurred in the first century. So we also have tons of modern accounts of demon possession. You can go on the internet, do all sorts of searches, and find tons of information. Some of it bogus, some of it not bogus. You can search on YouTube and find video of people being exorcised of demons. I put here, for instance, there's the exorcism of Annalise Michel, who her story was actually made into a movie called The Exorcism of Emily Rose, but her case is just one of the many, and that one was a more public and more popular case of a demon possession. And so if you've looked into that much, and I have, I think you'd recognize that it was most likely real, a real possession, and it was very scary in every sense of the word. Catholic priests that do exorcisms right now in our times there's reports coming out all the time. The Catholic priests are saying there's not enough trained priests in exorcism to take care of all the demon possession that they're seeing across the globe. So not only we're in Europe where the diocese is founded, but even in America, especially in America, actually, they're getting so many requests for demon possession, exorcisms, and treatment that they can't handle it. The Catholic priests can't. And some scientists now are even admitting that possessions are likely real and not just a materialistic kind of figment of science or chemicals in the brain or anything like that. Here's one example, Dr. Richard Gallagher. There's a lot of copies of an article he put out about that he had experience and works hand in hand with some exorcists because he, as a scientist, has come around to decide that possession is absolutely real and that demons are possessing people. So the question, are demons real, to me is a simple yes. It's throughout history. It's in our modern times. You can talk to people who've experienced it, and it is real in every sense of the word. So what are demons? We need to know what they are if we're going to understand their behavior and what happens to people who get possessed. So in a general sense, we use the word demon. We just use it generally to denote any evil spirit or any paranormal activity sometimes, but generally we're referring to some sort of spirit. But I do feel that the word demon has a specific meaning we will go into, and I say here, in reality, all spirits are not the same. All evil spirits are not the same. So the book of Enoch is going to tell us a little bit about where evil spirits came from in the first place, these demons. And the book of Jubilees is going to tell us some of the first things that these evil spirits, these demons, started to do to people and why they did it. And in the Bible, we have lots of stories about demons, especially when Jesus is casting them out or the disciples. But the Bible doesn't go into any detail specifically on the origin of demons. That's why we're going to go into the book of Enoch. Some other writings sometimes flesh those things out. Sometimes the Bible just doesn't. The Bible assumes that it is the case, but it assumes it because at the same time the books in the Bible were being used by the Jewish nation, they also used other books like Jubilees, Enoch, Jasher, a multitude of others. So anyway, that detail just isn't in the Bible about their origins. So in the book of Enoch, this is chapter 15 of the book of Enoch, and it talks about how demons are born and where they came from. So I'll read some of this to you pretty quickly, but it says in chapter 15, verse 8, "And now the giants who are produced from the spirits and flesh shall be called evil spirits upon the earth, and on the earth shall be their dwelling. Evil spirits have proceeded from their bodies because they are born from men, and from the holy watchers is their beginning and primal origin. They shall be evil spirits on the earth, and evil spirits shall they be called. As for the spirits of heaven, in heaven shall be their dwelling. But as for the spirits of the earth, which were born upon the earth, on the earth shall be their dwelling. And the spirits of the giants afflict, oppress, destroy, attack, do battle, and work destruction on the earth, and cause trouble. They take no food, but nevertheless hunger and thirst, and cause offenses. And these spirits shall rise up against the children of men and against the women, because they have proceeded from them." All right, so if this requires just a little background in the book of Enoch and the story of the watcher angels, what happened was the watcher angels observed men as Adam's family was progressing through early history on the earth, and they saw the women of the men and decided they were fair and beautiful, and came down and decided they were going to leave their estate in heaven. These angels would leave their estate in heaven and mate with these women and cause progeny, cause offspring. And when they did that, those offspring turned out to be giants, because they were a marriage of a human flesh and a spiritual being, and that marriage did not produce normal humans, it produced giants. And so that's exactly what it's talking about here. The evil spirits it's talking about proceeded from these giants who were killed in Noah's flood. So as these giants died, well, that was one of the sources of death for the giants. The other was that certain angels were sent down by God to cause the giants to fight against one another and kill each other off. So those two different ways that the giants actually died, but their spirits became these, what Enoch's calling evil spirits, and what I call demons. This is where I use the word demons to describe these, because there are demons and there are fallen angels, and they are different things. But it says here, as we read, they are confined to the earth because they were born of the earth. They were this weird marriage of flesh and spirit, and were never meant to exist. It's only by the sin of these angels, these watcher class angels, that they ever existed in the first place. So they now are on the earth. They destroy, they oppress, they afflict. And so that's how the book of Enoch says they came to be. So let's move forward. Now, in the book of Jubilees, we have a story of how the demons harass Noah and his sons after the flood. Because the flood was the end of all the giants that were living. Their spirits then were still on the earth, and were these demons who now we're going to see had some contact with Noah and his family. So in chapter 10 of the book of Jubilees, Noah's sons come to him. And I'll just read verse 1 there. In the third week of this Jubilee, the unclean demons began to lead astray the children of the sons of Noah, and to make to err and destroy them. And the sons of Noah came to Noah their father, and they told him concerning the demons which were leading astray and blinding and slaying his sons' sons. So Noah's grandchildren were being molested and destroyed, apparently, by the work of these demon spirits. And so Noah's sons come to him asking, pleading, can you ask God to make this stop? Can you find a way to help us? So then Noah does ask God for help. And he says, thou bless me and my sons that we may increase and multiply and replenish the earth. But you know the watchers, the fathers of these spirits, how they acted in my day. And as for these spirits which are living, please imprison them and hold them fast in the place of condemnation. He's talking about Hades. He's asking God to bind them in Hades, to get rid of them. And let them not rule over the spirits of the living, for thou alone canst exercise dominion over them, and let them not have power over the sons of the righteous from henceforth. And it says in verse 7, the Lord God bade us to bind all. Now, the speaker here, the narrator in the book of Jubilees, is a spirit of presence. It's one of God's holy ministering angels, called the angels of presence. And so this angel is saying, the Lord bade us, us angels, to bind these demons, take them to Hades, and keep them there. And so, but then we have to realize, so if that had happened, if they had just bound all the demons and taken them to Hades, then they wouldn't be a problem on earth, would they? But that's not exactly what happened. In the next verses, we'll see. It says, the chief of spirits, Mastema, came and said, Lord Creator, let some of them remain before me, and hearken to my voice, and do what I say to them. For if some of them are not left to me, I shall not be able to execute the power of my will on the sons of men. So this is Satan. The word Mastema is a word in the book of Jubilees used for the prince of the air, or the prince of spirits, which is Satan. And so Satan is the one asking, God, please don't imprison all the demons. Let me have some of them to use to work my will upon the earth. And God said, let the 10th part of them remain before him, and let 9 parts descend into the place of condemnation. So 10% of the demons stayed on earth and continuously torment men and do Satan's bidding until modern times. And the large portion, the 90% of them, were bound in Hades at that time. So, and then what happened was, then an angel of the presence is commanded by God to give Noah medicines to help with the problems that the demons are causing. It says, he commanded that we should teach Noah all their medicines, for he knew that they would not walk in uprightness. And Noah wrote down all the things in a book as we instructed him concerning every kind of medicine. Thus the evil spirits were precluded from hurting the sons of Noah. So apparently the cure that was given to Noah against the demons was medicines, or ointments, or tinctures, or herbs, or whatever it is. But very interesting. This is the first and earliest mention of medicine that I have read in all the scriptural writings that I've read that surround the scriptures, the Holy Scriptures. And so the first mention of medicine, but it was to combat demons. So that kind of tells us maybe what kinds of powers the demons had on the sons of Noah and on humans in general. So there are classes of evil spirits. We've talked about this one class of evil spirits that came from the Nephilim, the giants. But there are others. There are the fallen angels, and just some points here under each. Angels are angelic beings that have left their tasks given by God. Angels have specific tasks and jobs to do in heaven, and if they leave those, they're then going against the will of God. There is a hierarchy to angels. There are many levels of angels as far as authority. Different ones have different authorities, greater or lesser. So it's not as simple and clean cut as there's just angels. There's a lot of different types. Angels, spirits, heavenly hosts have assigned ranks and jobs as given by God, who's called the Lord of hosts or the Lord of spirits in the book of Enoch. So we know him as the Lord of lords or the Lord of hosts, but in the book of Enoch he's also called the Lord of spirits. Angels have free will and they can choose to disobey God just like men can. Obviously, if Satan chose to disobey God, what precludes any angel from choosing that? But directly spoken of in the book of Enoch, angels are the Watcher class angels disobey God, so there's that event where they do that. But there's also Enoch is taken into heaven and shown different holding places that are used to imprison angels who go against the will of God. So it's obvious that angels have a free will, just as man has a free will. They can either choose to go with God and do his work and do his assigned tasks, or against him and disobedience and become wicked. So they have that free will. Now, the other class of evil spirits is human spirits. This could obviously have a whole video or 10 done on itself, but I do believe, and there is evidence in scriptural writings and apocrypha, that some human spirits wander about, and they are not in Hades, they're not in heaven. They wander about in a spiritual realm that's parallel to our own. And it says in The Shepherd of Hermas, the quote is, they wander about not knowing where to fix. So, and Second Esdras also talks about this paradigm of some human spirits not going to a specific place, but essentially escaping their body at death, are then confused and in grief and torment, but they don't know where to go. And they're not taken anywhere. They just are in the realm of this earth, but are spirits, and that is where we get our ghosts, our paranormal ghosts that we talk about. The spirits of humans are confused. Usually, it's what has happened. They cannot possess a living human as like a demon can. However, they can speak, they can appear to people, they can frighten people, and that's usually what they're doing because they don't know. They're very confused about their state. They don't know what they're supposed to be doing. Sometimes they think, I believe, that they're still alive. But anyway, we could go way down a rabbit hole on that stuff, and perhaps I'll do a different video about that. But just know that there is that class of spirits that do not possess people, but do cause people to be frightened, obviously. Then we have the spirits we've been talking about, which is the demons, the spirits of the dead Nephilim, the giants. The spirits of the Nephilim roamed the earth and have done that since the flood of Noah, because they were all killed at that point. 90% of the demons, as we read, are bound by God, and 10% of the demons were allowed to stay on earth and be used under the bidding of Satan for his work against mankind. So I wanted to also list some beings that are evil spirits that are not demons, so you kind of get the picture of what isn't a demon. So Leviathan, Behemoth, Abaddon, which is mentioned in Revelation, Hades, mentioned in Revelation also, and in other books in the New Testament. Satan, not a demon. He's a fallen angel. All these are angel-type beings. Molech is an evil angel, fallen, evil angel that people in Sumeria followed, and the Jews from time to time would sacrifice their children to him. But he's an angel, not a demon. Prince of Tyre. This was mentioned in the Old Testament. Another one that could be a whole video of its own. This is also a fallen angel. The Prince of Sidon. Principalities, powers, dominions in the New Testament. These are not demons. They are fallen angels. They're, like I said, there's different hierarchy classes of angels, and each of these is a specific reference to a different class of angel. Principality, power, dominion. The spiritual realm is very prolific. We have to understand, I think, in modern Christianity, modern religion, we have kind of materialized everything, and a lot of people just don't believe in any of it anymore. They don't believe in spirits at all. Don't believe in demons or whatever. There's only God and Satan, if you even believe in Satan, and that's it. There's just not all this stuff. But the fact is, they are wrong, and that the spiritual realm is full of different types of spiritual beings. Absolutely full. So let's just keep that in mind. It helps when you're reading scripture, and it helps as you're talking about these types of things to understand there are many different types of spirits in the spiritual realm. So what do demons do? They seek, most of all, to inhabit host bodies. Now these can be either humans, or they can also be animals. They would rather obviously inhabit humans because they once had bodies, and that in possession of a human body makes them feel like they're closer to being alive again, back to where they were. So they strive for that. They hunger and thirst for it because they were never meant to exist at all. They're this strange marriage of a flesh human and a spirit angel. They are in a strange disembodied state now. And so since Noah's flood, they have striven to possess humans, to harass humans, because they're just upset. They're angry and mad, and they do a good job of showing it. According to the book of Enoch, we've read this before, but it just made these statements that the demons they wanted to afflict and oppress. They wanted to destroy, attack, doing battle. They would work destruction on the earth. That was their whole goal, and cause sickness. You know, we read about in Jubilees where Noah's sons became sick because of the demons. But also in the Talmud, it mentions specifically ailments of leprosy, rabies, heart disease, madness, asthma, croup cough, all sorts of different maladies specifically ascribed to demons. In fact, they gave the demons the name of the sickness in their writings because they so attributed those diseases to demonic activity. And so, you know, there's some connection for sure between sickness and demons, all right? So when possession occurs, what can we expect to see? We can often see a person self-mutilate themselves, hurting themselves, cutting themselves, speak ancient languages. A human can do that. When they don't know the language, it's totally unknown to them. People have heard Sumerian language, they've heard Babylonian, they've heard Latin. It just totally depends on the demon, the spirit that is inhabiting the body. Demons speak through the person, and so their voice will change, and it will be the demon's voice. The person can go into a coma or a suspended state. They can have superhuman type bursts of strength. Like people will try to hold them down because they're writhing and moving around and they're trying to do an exorcism or whatever, and the person can just throw people across the room. That has been attested to time and time again through testimonies. There can be obviously drooling, just bodily function, loss of control. There's often sometimes a sexual preoccupation, like there will be sexual tendencies, or, you know, a person doing stuff to themselves or whatever, or saying horribly sexual things. And then muscles can freeze and spasm in the person who is possessed. And this is most of these things are because you have to think about this is a demon entity, a demon spirit, trying to work and move through a human body which they are totally unaccustomed to. It's just as if your spirit was put inside a giraffe's body. It would probably be very awkward and strange. You wouldn't know how to control the body the same way. It's different shape, it's different size, it's everything. So when the demons possess a human, they oftentimes, there will be spasms and arms twisting different ways and things like that, because the demon doesn't have the control over the body that the person would. So how do fallen angels differ from demons? Because we've talked a lot about demons, and people always merge the two. When they say demon, they mean everything. But how do fallen angels different? Are they different from demons? They usually do not possess people. Fallen angels usually, they can do it, but they are not as often. The demons are more apt to that because they want it. They are thirsting for that connection to the flesh that they lost when they died thousands of years ago. So fallen angels will do it. I believe that has happened from things that I've seen, but fallen angels usually just want to cause strife and destruction in a person's life. Fallen angels tend to seek the destruction of the individual, and demons seem to be more interested in the harassment, just annoying demonic work is usually related to a person, being sick, being hateful, throwing things at people, just being generally harassing and annoying. Fallen angels are also much more powerful than demons. A fallen angel is, when you talk about those classes of angels or spiritual entities, fallen angels are way up at the top and demons are down at the bottom. And so if you see a possession with just hyper intense power and unbelievable force, then that may be a fallen angel and not necessarily a demon. And fallen angels, if they have taken possession of a human, they generally cannot be exorcised as easily. It usually is very difficult. It's different than a demon. Fallen angels can control a person's emotions when they appear to them. So there are a lot of different sources I've hit for this point, but fallen angels can appear to people. Some people see them as shade type beings, like dark figures. And when they come in contact with a human, they can actually force emotion upon that person. Severe fear, severe panic, severe upsetness, like crying, tears, anger, hatred. Those emotions can be forced upon a person, and angels have power to do this. So a person who is possessed or being molested by an angel, fallen angel, is very emotional in one way or another. It's usually in a violent type of way. But just know that a person's emotions, for some reason, they have that power over humans to generally push emotion into a person. And fallen angels, you have to remember, are ancient, much more ancient than a demon. Demons are, of course, obviously thousands of years old, but fallen angels are beyond that. Okay, so they, from the beginning of God's creation, according to the book of Jubilees, angels and all the hosts of heaven were created, I believe, on the second day. I may be wrong on that, but you'll have to read the book of Jubilees. But they were around since the beginning. They were given all these levels of authority and power, whereas demons were never meant to exist. So there's a very huge difference between the two there. So to kind of wrapping things up a little bit, these two movies, of all the movies or material that I've seen on demon possession, these two movies are by far the most accurate. And I put these here because when I saw each of these different movies, I've seen quite a few on possession, but when I saw The Rite and when I saw The Exorcism of Emily Rose, these two movies struck me because they spoke truly to everything I had ever studied and read about demonic possession. And so I, especially after The Rite, I said after I saw that movie, I'm like, every Christian should see this movie because As Christians, we have to understand we're in this spiritual battle, and it is real. It is as real as you and me. And if you're walking down the street, you're walking by people that are being afflicted by demons, and you can't see that, but it's happening. And these movies help me realize how real and tangible this war, this struggle is that we are in as Christians, and the fight is right in front of us. But we oftentimes, as Christians, just ignore it. We pretend like it's not there, and that's the worst thing of all. If you have an enemy and you don't believe the enemy is real, well, you've already lost the war. And so, as Christians, we have to be aware of our enemies, and our enemies are these entities, these evil spirits, demons, fallen angels. They are part of the other side of the battle. The war we're waging is against them. And it is for God our Father, the Lord of hosts, the Lord of spirits. And so just wanted to finish up with that. If you get a chance to see through these movies, they're not for kids. But as an adult, as a Christian adult, you should watch these movies to understand what you're up against. Because if you don't understand it, then we're losing the battle, period. And that's the end of the slides there. So thanks for joining me. I hope this has been helpful. This topic is endless. We could probably go into multiple other videos. There's probably a lot more. If you have questions based on what I've shared in this video, leave me a comment. And, I often do these response videos now, even though they're not easy. There's a lot of study to go into these things. But, man, I thank you guys so much for watching my videos and being a part of this. Give me a like and a subscribe if you got something out of the video. And I just praise God for you joining me tonight. Take care. God bless.